In our last tutorial, we completed the first things first. We found the script, we went through the script, and we marked down examples, and we did a coding for where that's going to belong in the essay, and we quoted where it came from, whether it was a timeline or a page number, or however we've done it. We included both quotes, and we included a scene description. Now it's time to create the outline. I know what you're thinking. I don't want to do an outline. Yes, you do. You do, because it's going to make writing the essay so easy. Let's go over there and do it together. We're going to do this together. I've started on my new page for the outline, and I'm going to use my working title, which is probably going to be my final title. And now, even though it's the outline, I'm going to go ahead and add my image here. I like to add my images to the outline. That way, I don't ever have to deal with losing them or finding them or anything else when I'm ready to write the essay. So it's time to find a title image. Under no circumstances will I ever use this jacket because it includes the title. I want a title picture that is the character in action. I like this one. See how Hamlet is? He's holding up his little knife. He's looking at himself in the mirror. It's a really good image. So before I do that, I'm just going to go here. I'm going to click on it. I'm going to click share. That's going to give me the URL. And I'm going to keep this real simple because I'm not really worried for this class, for this course. I'm not terribly worried about citing images. It only takes a second. So we're going to go to more, and we're going to find digital images. And it's just going to bring up the little grid for me. I'm going to keep it real simple. All I'm going to do is add the URL. I'm not going to worry about anything else. I'm going to add what the picture is. And this is from the film that I'm going to be quoting. So I'm just putting that in there, and that is it. That's all I'm going to do. And that at least cites the picture. It's going to ask me to review it. I'm not worried about images, so I'm just going to ignore that. And there I have the images. Each time I add an image, I'm just going to quickly do that, and that'll make it all nice and sealed up. Now I'm going to go back to that image and copy it and add it to my title page. Just going to click copy and go over here to my little title page. Boom. And there we go. Now, because it's me, I'm going to fix it up. I'm going to make it pretty. I'm going to give it a little, you know, frame. I'm not going to go crazy on this, but just under quick styles. Just going to pick a little, you know, there you go. Okay, so now I have my title image. I'm ready to start my outline. And here's how I'm going to do this outline. First, I'm going to have to change this over here to Times New Roman, and I'm going to do this in 14 because I like it nice and big so I can see it. So I'm going to go back over here to the margin, and I'm going to click, see, this is the little outline, but I'm going to pick the correct outline because I want an alphanumeric outline, which is this one. There we go. Now we have it, only I like it in Times New Roman, so I'm going to fix that by just going up here and doing all this, going to home and editing, select all, go over here, change it to Times New Roman 14. Now, I like it when it's set up like that. Okay, now I'm ready to do my outline. Okay, let's see what that outline is going to look like. Remember that we decided that Hamlet is a classical tragic hero because when we looked at the information, we found that he completed actions consistent with both of those types. Now, maybe you selected a character that is straight up romantic hero. Maybe it's straight up Byronic hero. I don't know. It doesn't matter. But for this example, I just wanted to do something that was harder, and then you can simplify that for whatever your topic is and whatever hero archetype that character is. So here we are. And remember this, we highlighted what does Hamlet do, and we highlighted these critical things that he does, actions that he takes. And so we're going to use these at different places in the essay. And where are we going to use them is what we're going to determine by determining it in the outline. So let's go over here and take a look at our outline and get started. Regardless of what I'm writing about, regardless of who my hero is or what type of hero he is, the introduction is always going to be formatted the same. The introduction is one paragraph, 8 to 9 sentences total, no more than 8 or 9 sentences. So, first sentence, we want to introduce the reader to the compelling Hamlet. That's going to be 1 or 2 sentences about who Hamlet is. You can write that Shakespeare wrote this play, but you have 2 sentences. That's it. We've determined that he's a classic hero and that he's a tragic hero. So we're going to have a sentence about what is a classic hero. How are we going to figure out what is a classic hero? We can't put that just down in our own words. So we're going to have 2 sentences. 1 sentence in our own words and then a quote to prove that. How are we going to find that quote? Let's find it together. Well, I need a quote from something, so I go over to Google and I type in those important words, critical essays. It's important that I spell that right. Critical article, what is a classic hero? To answer that question. Now we've got a lot of choices here, and so let's look for the right storyboard that. I don't know what that means. Let's look for a really good source. Britannica. That's always a good source. Let's just do Britannica. Okay, so I went over here to reference.com and I just found a link there before I went to the encyclopedia that found this to be a better reference. Now, what we're going to be saying in our essay is that Hamlet is absolutely a tragic hero, but he also has attributes of a classic hero, limited in scope. But we're still going to attribute that to him and say that he is a tragic classic hero. All right? So we're going to be limited in this. We're getting all lofty here. So before we do anything, what do? That's right. We take this, we copy it, we go over to EasyBib, we create a citation. It's from a website, and we're going to paste it, let it think about it a minute. It found it. Yay. Go over here. And we're going to continue. And up here it's going to ask for an author. There isn't one, so we're going to say contributors. And we created the citation. Whenever I reference this citation in the essay, in the outline, of course, there are going to be all kinds of different sources that we're going to find. So I'm going to use IAC to determine this particular article. And the only quote I'm going to use from this entire article is just this one. And I'm going to this time use the title of the article, although that's a long citation. So I'm going to copy this. I'm going to go over to my outline, and we just said that a classic hero, that's in my own words. And now I'm going to come down here and I'm going to add that quote. And I'm going to make sure I just go ahead and include the citation. There. Now I have that all set to go. So that part of my introduction is all complete. This is going to be in my own words. So I'm just going to make a little comment there. So now I've got that completed. Next, I'm going to indicate what a tragic hero is in 2 sentences. Same exact formula. I'm going to say this in my own words. Then I'm going to go out and I'm going to find an article that explains what a tragic hero is. And I'm going to add that tragic hero into my the same exact formula. Now I'm ready to write the thesis statement. We have determined that yes, Hamlet has attributes of a classic hero. We are going to focus most of our attention in the essay on Hamlet as a tragic hero, since he clearly is tragic. So, which of these 3 do we want to use? We want to use 1 from the classical hero, because that's a minor point. And we're going to use 2 examples from tragic hero. So let's just do this. Let's say he is, because this is what we're going to go on in this classic thing. He has one fatal flaw. That's his problem. So let's go over here, and that's part of our thesis statement. So back over here at the statement. Because Hamlet is a noble character, close to perfectly ideal, a noble character with one fatal flaw. Okay? That's number one. Number two, because Hamlet, now we need two things to select from the tragic. So we've already got our one there. Let's just change that color so we know we used it. All right, we know that one's been used. Okay, so now, what two of these tragic things do we want to use here? You look at it, I'm going to look at it. We already did this noble birth thing in the classics, so we don't need to repeat that. Fated by the gods or some supernatural force to doom and destruction. Well, he is visited by the ghost, so that's a maybe, because the tragic hero simply cannot accept a diminished view of the self. Okay, we already mentioned the flaw as a classic thing, so we don't need to use that here. Again, that'd be repetitive. Now, what's down here? Ooh, his doom. Oh, the demise. I love this one. And because... Okay, back over here to our thesis statement. Number two. And let's work this into the... Because he faces tragic doom, both publicly and privately. That's going to be fun to do that. Okay, that's number two. And what's the third thing that he does that's tragic? We have one thing that's classical, one thing that's tragic, and we need the rule of three. We need a third thing that's tragic. Okay, so let's go back over to the list. What's the third thing he does that's tragic? We are energized by witnessing this eternal drama, for it encompasses the fate and stuff of all humans, from kings and queens to paupers. There you go. Because we witness, well, we don't want to use we. Okay, we're going to fix this. All right, so we're going to add this, copy, go back to our thesis statement, and add that there. Let's wordsmith it. Because faces public doom, both privately and faces eternal drama that encompasses the fate and stuff of all humans, period. He can be considered a classic tragic hero. That's the thesis statement. Okay, let's clean that up. Take out this. Okay. Okay. Let's just clean it up a little bit. Okay, none of that. And all in 14. We're going to take out these. Faces tragic. There he goes. Now that tells the reader the sections of the essay, doesn't it? Okay, so the sections of the essay we have told the reader are the discussion of him as a classic hero, noble of character with one flaw, fatal flaw. The next section, he faces tragic doom both publicly and privately and faces eternal drama. And then third, faces eternal drama that encompasses the fate and stuff of all humans. he can be considered a classical tragic hero. Beautiful. That's how a thesis statement's done, folks. And we're going to move on to the first point, which is going to be the definition section, where we're going to tell the reader what the plot of this story is, and we're going to go and cover these points briefly. We're going to move on to the second section. Now, the introduction is one paragraph, but the second section is going to be multiple paragraphs. There will be 2 or 3 paragraphs in here. Each paragraph is no longer than 8 or 9 sentences. So, first things first, our reader is sitting there going, well, this sounds fascinating. I can't wait to learn more about this Hamlet guy, but I don't know anything about this play. So, we're going to start with a plot summary of Hamlet. 1 or 2 paragraphs. You should be able to do that in 1 paragraph. In some instances, you've picked a character where you need to give the information a little bit more to the reader. So instead of 1 paragraph of 9 sentences, you have 2 paragraphs of 5 sentences each. The first set of paragraph sentences would describe the world of the story, and the second set of 5 sentences would describe the character, our hero, within that world of the story. You see what I mean? That's something you figure out while you're planning how you want to explain this to the reader. This should be mostly in my own words with 1 or 2 quoted sources, but most of it, because remember, only 23 to 30% of the entire essay is going to be quoted material. The rest is in my own words. So anytime there's a part of the essay that I can write in my own words, the better. So this plot summary goes first. Next, we're going to come up with, we need to tell the reader what a classic hero is. Now, here's something important about this classic hero. We are not saying that Hamlet is a complete and total classic hero. He possesses some of the qualities of a classic hero, and that's our argument for this essay. I found a dandy article on that. Let's look at that article that I found in about 1 second in simply typing in the question, is Hamlet a classic hero? By typing in that precise word, here is the article came up with those precise words. Is the character of Hamlet more of a classical hero or a tragic hero? Isn't that awesome? Isn't that just fantastic? Okay, so what am I going to do? We're just going to go ahead and give Sarah credit for this article. What are we going to do? That's right. We're going to copy this. We're going to go over to EasyBib. We're going to create a citation before we do anything else. It's just so easy to do that. And we're going to type in, just paste in that URL, search, hope that it finds it. It did find it. Okay, continue. And we're going to give Sarah the author title. Sarah from over here. So let's just go over here and we'll get little Sarah. Cute girl, I bet she is. I'm going to go back over here to our citation form. There we go. There it is. When was this written? 2016. It's okay. It's a relevant thing, even though it's a little dated. It's still talking about classic literature, so. Okay. And there we go. Now we've added that one to the mix. Now we don't have to think about that anymore. Let's go back over to this article and see what little Sarah thinks about whether he is or is not. So, she says, this is a nifty little article, you all, and I'm going to be using this article in several places in the essay because she really has some awesome content. Now, this is the part of the article where she answers the question, is he a classic hero? She says kind of no, but then she comes down here and says something sort of interesting, and where she says, Hamlet is able to fit this characteristic, as at the time of the major battle or conflict in the play, the character is still dealing with issues like guilt and a need for revenge. So, that's what we're focusing on with our Hamlet. His tragic flaw, his problem, you all, is that he does not check out his actions with anybody else. He just dives in there and just does it. And he's going with his emotions rather than his intellect. So let's use this. Let's use our little Sarah's quote here. He is able to fit the characteristic of a classic hero, and we're only going to use this one. Let's go back to our outline. What is a classic hero? And we're going to use a quoted source, and let's see, where's that going to go? It's a great quote. I just don't think it goes in the definition. We're in the definition section. So hold on, I'm going to put this somewhere else, and then I'll come back to it because I'm going to use it somewhere different. Okay, so I have found two little articles that define my terms. And one is, what is a classic hero? First sentence is in my own words. Although Hamlet is considered more fitting of a tragic archetype, the fact of his classic attributes are notable. Okay, so we're just noting them. We're not saying that this is all that there is to see. Now I include a quote. And I found that quote by typing in, what is a classic hero? I already quoted that in my citations, have it copied, and that's where that information came from. And I'm going to put it in here. And of course, I list where it came from. I don't ever want to end up getting ready to write my essay and wonder where a quote originated. Oh. Now, next is, what is a tragic hero? Hamlet suffers throughout his young manhood, driven by impulsive emotion. These issues are relatable to me as the viewer of the film because I see times in my life when I have made decisions based on reaction rather than logic. Notice that I am carefully avoiding using the word we, you, us, our. It's only me and my reaction. Now, when the reader of my essay is reading along, they may very well say, you know, I felt that same way. That's how I saw it. That's how I felt about it. But my position, unless I'm writing an article that is published, is to write only my perception or objective criticism and facts. Right. So I found this quote by typing into Google, what is a tragic hero? And there is that little description, and the part of this description mentions that the literary device is to evoke pity and or fear in the audience through the protagonist's flaw and consequential downfall. Came from literarydevices.com. And that's why I said in my own words about my reaction as the viewer, as the audience member, right? And now I'm going to, so that's just one paragraph. We can handle this description of what a classic hero, what a tragic hero is, in just one paragraph. And that means that this second section, the definition of terms, will be one or two paragraphs where I describe the plot for the reader, followed by one paragraph that defines the terms that I'm going to be using. Classic hero, tragic hero. Each contains a statement in my own words and a proving statement. Statement in my own words and a proving statement. And now I'm ready to move on to the next section of the essay, which is going to end up being one paragraph because we're only going to talk about one attribute of Hamlet that makes him a classic hero. So we're ready to move on and do that. Okay, now we're going to talk on this section, is Hamlet as the classic hero? Because we're only going to be covering one attribute of Hamlet as that archetype. It's just going to take one paragraph. So I've got to make sure that my sentences are economized. So the classic hero is a person with a character, a personality that is in part shaped by the fact that he's born rich and kind of spoiled and never had to do anything. So I'm going to start with a statement in my own words. Hamlet's personality is shaped in part by his upbringing. A prince who has never worked or wanted for anything, Hamlet is easy prey for unexplained events to come. Now, I've got to prove that. I just made that statement. Sounds good, but I got to prove it. let's go back over to here to our handy dandy little chart that we made way back when. And I see this quote. I made this up. So, you would find a quote that's legitimate. But okay, on timestamp 326 in the 1996 movie, Hamlet argues with his friends who shun him for his lack of ambition. Hamlet says, "Ambition is for the weak, not me. I am humbled by my birthright." Okay, so that says he doesn't have to be ambitious. And that's from the Branagh film. He was the director. And it's at timestamp 326. So I copy that as my example that's going to prove what I just said. And I simply pop it right in there. See? Okay. Now, I've talked about his personality, which is classic in nature. Now, what is one thing that a classic hero does? And the classic hero is privileged by birth and has experienced little conflict in life. Despite his nobility, decisions are made which are not founded in logic and lead to a dramatic set of circumstances. What does Hamlet do? Hamlet is able to fit this characteristic, as at the same time of the major battle conflict in the play, the character is dealing with issues like guilt and a need for revenge. Remember, that's that quote from our little Sarah's article. Remember little Sarah's article back over here when I said I'm going to put that somewhere, that little quote? And that's what I did. I found that little quote and I found the better place for it, which is right here, and explains what he actually does. Now, all I need to do to finish this is to find a little image of him being a little spoiled brat. Change that. Being a young man of high expectations. Okay, I'm going to find a picture. I'm going to use this picture because look how snotty he looks. How it looks like everybody's just begging him to be something. So I'm going to copy that image. I'm going to go over here to my outline and I'm just going to pop that image right in there so I know that's where it goes. I'll go ahead and just do the quick picture format. It won't take that long, and that way I know it's already done and I don't have to worry about things being consistent. All my images are going to come from the movie since I'm using the movie as my point. Okay, that's it. We're all through with with the definition of terms, and we're ready to move on for the specific sections. And the specific sections, of course, are now we're going to move on to the exact example of the classic, and then the tragic, and then the conclusion. Okay, so just so we remember where we are in the process. The introduction, we've already done. The second section was definition of terms. We've described the plot for the reader. We, in one paragraph, defined what a classic hero is and what a tragic hero is. Then we moved on to our first point, which is Hamlet as a classic hero, for which we are only going to refer to one point, and that is his nobility of birth and how that led him to be the person that he ended up being. I'm going to go ahead and fix this only because that way later on nothing happens and it doesn't become a different font and look goofy. Okay, so now having done classic, I'm ready to do what? That's right, tragic. Now this is the meat and potatoes of the essay, so it's going to be 2 or 3 paragraphs long. And I'm going to follow the exact same formula. What's his tragic flaw? What's one thing that a tragic hero does? How do we know that? We go back over here to where we marked these and we decided we're going to use his tragic doom. And we're going to use that what his suffering does for the audience. And so we're going to go through the same thing and we're going to add our images of Hamlet doing that one thing. And I'll go back to over here where I had found my images from the movie. And I'll find images from the movie that I think will actually tell whatever it is that I'm saying right there. And as soon as I do that, as soon as I click on that, it'll take me over here. I do share. This is where I get the URL. And I go and create that citation in EasyBib. And I go through the outline the same exact way. Right? I say something in my own words, and then I use a proving comment from some article that I have found, just like the articles that I found before. I may even still use those articles. That one little article by our little Sarah Benson really does have a lot of good information in there, and I might use that more than once. And after I fill out that section, then I'm going to come down here and I'm going to complete the conclusion. And here's the outline for the conclusion. Now, throughout my research, whenever I found articles or whenever I found images, then I want to make sure that I go ahead and pop those in this conclusion so that I have the conclusion already written by the time the essay is completed. Don't make the mistake of just putting in conclusion and considering it done. It will only be frustrating because as writing the essay, you will get to the end of the essay and go, oh, I don't even know what to do for the conclusion. Because during my research, I found quotes that I wanted to put here and there. I've already figured this all out. Now, I'm supposed to use a general statement about the longevity of this play, one image of the play in performance. What did we just see over here in these pretty images? Remember, even though it's a film, this is still an image of the play in performance. Isn't that snappy? Isn't that going to be pretty in the... Okay, and I'll go ahead and I'll just make it easy. Just go ahead and do this so I don't have to do it at the end. It'll already be done. Right. Isn't that nice? General statement about the longevity of this play. And this is like the play in performance. It looks so snappy. Next, I'm going to... Remember when I had that article on the classic hero? What is a classic hero? I'll find one line from that and I'll add it here from that same source. Remember when I looked up the tragic hero, what the definition of that is? I'll find a different quote from that article and I'll add it in here. When I say how Hamlet represents the challenges of life, that will be in my own words. How do I relate to Hamlet's struggles? Not we, not you, not us, not the whole world, just me. And therefore, the essay, the final conclusion, this is all in my own words. The longevity of the play, it stood the test of time, the importance of Hamlet as a character, as one that archetypes have been built off of for eternity. And then I have quoted material from the design of a classic hero to the sadness of a tragic hero. The next is going to be 2 sentences in my own words, and then I'm going to have a final statement or quote from the play, a quote from Hamlet, something he says, a quote from a critic or something profound to end the essay. And now I'm ready. The whole essay is essentially written, and now all I have to do is go in and write the essay using this information here to create beautifully organized paragraphs. Of course, it will not have these numbers. That's all going to go away because the outline is not the essay. All right? Isn't that fun? That's exactly how we write this essay. Now, if you wanted to see a start to finish essay that I actually wrote and completed and go through the whole process, there is a set of tutorials on training day, the essay that I wrote, and I wrote it exactly as if I were you. And you can follow that tutorial set and see me actually write an essay from start to finish. But this gives you a good cook's tour of how to start your essay, how to find your character, how to determine what kind of archetype your character is, how to watch the film or read the novel or read the play and take notes and fill out that little grid so that you have information and where to put that information, and then create your outline using all of those tools to copy and paste your own words and information into the outline. That concludes this tutorial.